Hi, I'm Brad, and I glow in the dark. I'm sure some of you are tired of all these meta-related videos. I'm personally tired of talking about meta stuff too, but these things tend to leak out without me choosing what leaks out, so I had to make a new video, and it's just, yeah, I've been valve, and well, there's a lot of stuff to cover today. A lot. It's actually insane. So to start this video out, I want to first say that Zuckerberg last week teased a photo where he was in a Quest 2 in a really strange environment. It looked like an Apple store to me originally, so I guess that might have been a rumored Meta retail store, or at least the first location that was getting ready to open. I was right. About a week after he posted that hint image, they announced that on May 9th in California near San Francisco, they're going to be opening the first Meta retail store that would showcase all their hardware products. Mostly right now, it's Quest 2 and their Portal devices, which are basically video teleconferencing for boomers. The interesting thing is it opens the same day that I come into San Francisco area to go to SID Display Week, and also to do a office tour of the Tilt 5 AR company that is run by Jerry Ellsworth, former Valve employee. So hopefully I'll have some time to make a video or at least check it out and give my opinions of the store later on and the experience that they're having there. But the first reaction most people had to this announcement was, why are they making a retail store when they really only have 2 products? 3 when you count Meta Cambria, which is expected to come out later this year, fully probably announced during Connect in September or around that range. A store for only 3 products? That still isn't a lot. But that's just the beginning. Meta is actually working on productizing a ton of different garbage. And I just found a bunch of stuff thanks to the help of Sumilia, Fasty564, and Reggie04, where we were doing a lot of digging into a lot of different things. And I made this mega video because it's just so much, so bear with me. One of the things includes a revision to the XR2 chip from Qualcomm, which is a little interesting. But first, before I go into the nitty-gritty details, please support me by going to bradsmells.com/Patreon. It really helps me a lot, and I can keep doing videos like this and fund my channel even more to make my channel better, like this whole lighting setup. This wasn't free. But just a reminder, usually for this channel, anything I report on have 2 main sources. The first one would be data mining, and the other one is usually industry sources or hints that I get from the supply chain or other people that just can't keep their mouths shut. I thank you, people. I love you greatly. But once in a while, we get one more source that gives out way more information than people probably intend to give out. And that is things that are loaded onto a boat. Import documents. So yeah, when things are loaded onto shipping containers and sent to different countries, these countries might have different rules of what the descriptions have to be that these companies have to give for these products. And we found a bunch of different Meta products being shipped to India, to Qualcomm and Meta Labs within that area. Sometimes to third parties that are usually working on R&D or software to probably build apps or at least tests for these hardware devices. And we're not just talking about Meta Cambria here, we're talking about some other products too, like a SmartWatch from Meta, which has been talked about quite a bit actually in media if you haven't been caught up so far. But yeah, we actually do see a smartwatch being sent between different factories or R&D facilities from Meta. From import records, we have something that says Watch, Smartwatch, FOC, Config, XE1G6CSP, System Assisi, EVT1 connected smartwatch for testing and evaluation purpose. So EVT stands for Engineering Verification Test. These are usually one of the first stages of productizing a, product or hardware prototype. It's past the prototype phase, and they are just kind of building all the parts, testing out different components to build an actual watch. And this was sent in November 21st of last year to a facility that Meta owns. The fact that they're in EVT1 means they are pretty far in with this product. We have a lot of sources such as The Verge and the information that go into a lot more detail what this product likely to be. So let's recap what that is. The Verge and the information said that we had a smartwatch with features such as a simple camera embedded into a display on your wrist on the watch itself. But more interestingly than that is apparently this display can be removed from the smartwatch and the actual watch can be removed from the watch band, and that little piece has basically a much better camera underneath the display, like something like a GoPro camera or something that has 1080p and autofocus. And the idea is to allow people who buy this watch to have A lot of accessories work with them to create not just watch bands, but maybe a keychain you can apply to a backpack or other peripherals. So you can do a lot with this 1080p camera that also will have its own processing unit. It'll be running on a custom version of Android, which is probably likely because every Meta product so far has been running on a custom version of Android, including their XR products such as the Quest 2 and Meta Cambria and their Smartglasses, which we'll talk about in a minute. The big point of a Meta smartwatch is likely to integrate it with their growing ecosystem. One of the big disadvantages that Meta has as a kind of new hardware company, they've been a software company, but you can't really think of them as that anymore. They are becoming a full-fledged huge hardware company, is compared to Apple, which is going to release an XR device planned for next year. They have a very well-regarded ecosystem that all their products work together in, and I'm guessing this Meta smartwatch will also work with their XR products in some ways, even if it's very basic at the beginning. Meta is working with top US wireless carriers to support LTE connectivity, which, so it doesn't have to rely on a smartphone. This is all par for the course for smartwatches. It's just the main gimmick, again, is that removable display that we don't even know is fully being productized. That was just something that people have reported. But it is said that the colors are expected to be in white, black, and gold whenever this product does release. So this is a full-fledged smartwatch product, and they plan to sell at least in the hundreds of thousands whenever they release this said product. Now, I know when I started posting this stuff on Twitter, as I usually do like to post stuff short form on Twitter before I make these long form videos explaining things, people were confusing this smartwatch for the future planned EMG-based input device that they were planning to use with Project Nazar, their high-end AR glasses project. So Meta bought a company known as Control Labs, which they were making an EMG wristband that could actually calculate your muscle movements and do finger tracking. Well, that wasn't really the use case for them at the time, but Meta bought that company just so they can do experiments with actually getting finger tracking that doesn't have to require actual visual cameras to see where your fingers are. And it's been rumored and said by The Information or The Verge that they want to use that as an input device in the future. Now, this is a first generation smartwatch that I'm describing here, and this is not planned to have that EMG feature, at least as of yet. The fact that they are planning at least to have a wristband detachable from the device means maybe one day they can just have that little compute unit or display part attached to an EMG wristband as a future product, but that is of course speculation. However, because it's this far in development and they're going through the EVT phase, I wouldn't be surprised if we see this device released and shown in Meta stores by the end of 2023. And that's a very generous amount of time, I would say. I just want to be on the safe side. But yeah, it does seem like this Meta smartwatch is likely far in development. Anyway, I said that EMG bracelet was planned to work with the AR glasses called Nazar. Well, let's talk about smart glasses and AR glasses for just a minute from Meta, because we got some big new information related to that. This is not to be confused with the MR product like Cambria, which plans to use actual cameras pass-through for VR and AR support. This is the true what people usually think about when you say AR, with a clear glasses, which is a lot harder to do in a very immersive way, so most things are not going to be immersive straight off the bat with these clear lenses and stuff. And we actually have heard of a project called Hypernova, which is supposed to be a stepping stone, or sold at least as a different product line than the Project Nazar, which is supposed to be the mega AR glasses way in the future that Meta is really trying to productize. So yeah, The Verge reported about this Hypernova codename first, but I actually got some really good data mining information on what I believe is Hypernova. From the actual Meta firmware, we have the first time detailed specs of at least a prototype for the product Hypernova, which is referred to as Kona V2.1 glass right now. Now, I gotta say this because I'm always so excited to say these words. We know that this Hypernova device does have displays, and we got information of what direction that Meta seems to be going on what kind of displays they want to use for this AR smart glass. OLED micro displays. Yeah. The specifications for this prototype goes into detail that say that Meta is planning to use dual OLED micro displays, SY049WDM02 panels from a fab known as Sia Tech. These are 0.49 inch OLED on silicon panels at 1920 by 1080p per eye. And these displays from the Sia Tech Chinese fab are rated around 1800 nits. However, they have another product that they're working on that reaches 3000 nits. And since it's a prototype, I think for AR purposes, even for a smart glass, it would be better to get a higher rating. Now, if you follow this channel religiously, you would know that I've talked about Sia Tech and these panels that they've been making. They built a large 12-inch wafer fab just to produce OLED micro displays. They do color filter designs right now. Later on, in the long-term future, they do plan to do RGB directly patterned onto these wafers. And again, OLED microdisplays are another word for OLED on silicon. Most standard OLED that we've seen in smartphones and in previous VR products like the HTC Vive, they deposit the OLED onto glass backplanes. However, with glass, you cannot get the finer details, and making the pixels smaller, it's literally impossible to get these like 1080p at 0.49 inches, half an inch, with glass alone. So people have been switching to silicon, especially for XR products. And I mentioned that AR Para, which is a, well, they say it's 5K, but it's 2560 by 2560 per eye OLED microdisplay VR device that they were pushing last year. They did a Kickstarter. I said this product was not very good because they were using these displays from Sia Tech. And the main reason I said that was because they were only rated at around 1800 nits. Now, these are much larger displays in the VR device. They are about 1 inch diagonal. And while that is also a problem because the more smaller you make the display, the more difficult the optics have to be, the brightness is really the big trouble because they're using pancake optics in the Arpara, and that removes a lot of light. But that's not the big reason why I said these panels were bad for VR. VR and AR have very different needs when it comes to displays. At VR, immersive VR, where you're moving your head a lot and you're not really overlaying the same information at a given frame, you need to get around a much lower duty cycle, what it's called. A duty cycle is where they flash the display at a percentage of the frame. The max target for the consumer industry is 10% duty cycle. So if you take 10% of that 1800 nits, you get about 180 nits. And that's before it goes through the pancake optics, which are polarizing and bouncing light around and also losing light. 1800 nits is not enough for at least VR device that is using a pancake optics configuration. Okay for Fresnel or Fresnel, but yeah. But for AR smart glasses, again, you are not doing anything immersive. You're probably having a HUD in a small FOV, and it's overlaying almost the same exact information at all times. So due to that, you can run the actual display at a 100% duty cycle. And a lot of AR glasses that have been doing OLED microdisplays, like this one I have right here, which is the Nreal Lite. This actually has OLED microdisplays built by Sony. They are 0.71 inch 1080p displays, and they're rated, I believe, 1000 nits brightness. But they use birdbath optics. Let me take this off there. Birdbath optics basically mirror the display onto your view, and they don't lose too much light, but again, they do get a little bulky on the top here. And this product is important because what I'm describing here from Beta is very likely similar to this product. When you wear this product, they overlay a ton of information in a very small FOV. Again, you connect it to a smartphone or a processing puck. And again, you just choose what app connects to this device. This device also has its own XR1 chip. And they just work together to give you basic information of your environment. Nothing immersive. They're just not there yet. VR will be the most immersive platform for AR for a while. But these smart glasses are looking to have smaller displays, the Nreal Lite, and due to the fact that they are called Kona 2.1 AR glasses means they're likely to be running on a XR2 based chip instead of an XR1 in the Nreal Lite. Speaking of Kona 2.1, this actual AR glass also mentions that it's planned to, at least or in testing phase, work together with something called Kona V2.1 XRFusion Device. I said this device, at least the developer kit, came with a little processing puck, which is not rare for these devices. Even the Magic Leap comes with a processing puck because these chips, even though they have some very basic chips inside these devices, they cannot do their own processing very well. They need at least something to communicate with, another chip. So a lot of people have used smartphones for processing pucks. And this XRFusion device boasts a 61 milliamp hour Gore-Tex battery. So they're likely also planning, or at least testing right now, some sort of processing puck that they could sell with their AR glasses. At least that's my speculation. Again, both the AR glass and the processing puck have Kona V2.1 in the name, so they likely, again, have their own chips to work together. similar to the concept of split rendering I've talked about in this channel before. They have also added a lot of overlays in the OS for this AR glass device, so they are fleshing out the Android OS for it. You might have heard not too long ago that the Meta was working on a custom-built OS for AR, but they had to scrap that due to a lot of issues, including the leader of that project going to Google. So that custom OS was canceled, and because of that, they are having to use Android, and because of that, that's why we have information on what this AR glass is looking to be. So thank God that custom OS project was canceled, otherwise we wouldn't have this information. I almost wonder if we will see a Meta phone someday in the future, because while processing puck is, basic or par for the course for these devices, I think because Meta is trying to build a hardware ecosystem, it's likely they would want to look into a phone. But at the same time, the phone market, if you don't know, is dwindling in sales each year. Most people have their own phone, they're not upgrading every year, and people are just tired of buying new phones because the changes between generations of these products are not very different. Which is good for the XR industry, because all these fabs are pretty much been focusing on building components for mobile phones. They're like, well, crap, our stocks are going down, our orders are going down, what the crap do we do now? And a lot of these tier 1 companies are telling them, well, guess what? There's something called XR, which is expected to explode the same way mobile phones did, so you should start gearing up your fabs for these kind of components for XR devices. So good for us, bad for phone lovers. But again, I want to reiterate, this will be a smart glasses. Most people really think that someday Apple or a big competitor is going to release a Omega amazing technological AR glasses at consumer price points. That's the big keyword, consumer price points. But the actual physics to getting a small chip that can run high-powered immersive experiences at a high FOV with a high resolution, high refresh rate, all of that stuff with really good optics that don't lose much of the light, we're still very far off from that, so we're going to see an intermediary period with mixed reality devices and smart glasses. But I've been mentioning something called Kona V2.1. What is that? Kona 2.1? What is even Kona to begin with? Well, Kona is actually a code name for the series of products related to Qualcomm 865, 865 Plus, and 870. For reference, the XR2 is based on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 standard chip, and there's been a lot of murmurs that they are working on a slight revision to this product. This is not to be confused with the XR2 Gen 2 or an XR3, as that product was kind of been talked about to be in the future. It's just a small revision, and we have a lot of evidence for this happening. The XR2 SoC that are in products such as the Quest 2 is also known as SXR2130P, but we found a new reference called SXR2150P, thanks to Qualcomm themselves, actually. We have found on a website, Qualcomm's website actually, when you go to their AR, VR, XR page, at least a few days ago, in the navigation bar, there was a link that said SXR2150P. And apparently, when you click this link, it would lead to a dead page. I tweeted this out, this picture of this fake link that went nowhere. And guess what? Today, when I checked it, that navigational link and all references to it on the website have been wiped. So originally, I wasn't going to talk about this, but because Qualcomm wiped all the references to it, now it's important. So we were using this SXR2150P to go back into the import records website, and we saw Qualcomm sending themselves versions of this chip or SoC in different configurations, mainly two. The interesting thing is we believe that the actual codename for this revision within Qualcomm is called Project Tron. Very cool name, fits the whole VR naming scheme. I like it, Project Tron. I hope some news articles start coming out with that in the title because it just sounds so good. Again, asking around sources of the industry, there does seem to be a small revision happening to XR2 Gen 1, but it likely won't have a huge improvement like people really want. My guess is it's just better binning, or they're updating the XR2 to be more closer to the 870 Snapdragon chip rather than the 865, which again has almost no difference between each other, but better binning and slightly higher clock speeds and just better support for other things. But these two configurations that we saw Qualcomm sending to different basically factories and R&D development places between each other, they were sending two DDPs, which stand for Development Test Platforms, and one DDP was a 6GB LPDDR4X version, And another version was a 12GB LPDDR5 version. Those are also very different RAM types as well. LPDDR4X is different from LPDDR5, which is like the newer version of the standard. Knowing that, let's go back to Cambria, or Cambria Generation 1 at the very least. Using this website, we were also looking up Seacliff versions to see what more details that these import records were giving us, and we actually found that literally last month, March 2022, they were sending a version of Seacliff or Cambria to different locations of Meta offices or labs that boasted a 256GB SSD and 12GB of RAM. For reference, the Quest 2 uses a 6GB LPDDR4X RAM chip from Samsung, as you can see here, wherever I put it. And also, the Cambrias also like to incorporate a Broadcom Wi-Fi 6E chip over Quest 2's Wi-Fi 6, so it has better communication, especially if you want to do wireless streaming for VR content. But based on the actual DTP, I'm also believing that Meta is likely switching over from LPDDR4X to LPDDR5. It allows you to have faster memory as well as more, which is important for one reason. Zuckerberg, after their Meta earnings call this week, confirmed my suspicions of what this device was targeted to be. Meta Cambria is a consumer-leaning device that is located or focused more on productivity cases or, work from home stuff, basically a laptop. He literally says, Meta Quest 2 continues to be the leading virtual reality headset. Later this year, we'll release a higher-end headset, named Project Cambria, which will be more focused on work use cases and eventually replacing your laptop or work setup. This premium device will have improved ergonomics, full color pass-through, mixed reality to seamlessly blend virtual reality with the physical world. We're also building in eye tracking, face tracking, so that your avatar can make eye contact and facial expressions, which dramatically improves your sense of presence. We are entering the spatial computing age, guys, and this product is probably going to be the first one to really bring that in. And high-end MR devices replacing the laptop are likely going to be the big push happening from a lot of tier 1 consumer players across the industry. I'm especially looking at you, Apple XR headset that's supposed to come out next year. I know you're probably going to do very likely a very similar thing. But again, why does Meta Cambria need this much RAM? That is double the Quest 2. Well, if you want productivity, you need more, RAM to do multitasking. And I got some really cool information that I got from a private source. They told me that a large update is coming to the Quest OS. It won't be the next update or version 41, but the entire home dashboard framework will be rebuilt from the ground up. There will be no visual differences, but it'll be heavily optimized and be separated into many independent systems. 3 main features are coming from this. 1, you can anchor windows in the home environment, allowing you to set up sections for each teleportation area, allowing you to have infinite windows in your home environments simultaneously, but 3 max for each teleportation area, utilizing the Suspend API I'm about to mention later. So as you load into Quest 2, you're usually loading into a home environment. You can't really move anywhere as of yet, but the plan is to have larger scale environments for you to load into, and you can teleport to different areas and have 3 basically set windows or productivity or browsers set up like tabs in each of these areas. And when you teleport to each tab, it will wake up the applications you have open from the actual RAM memory and then suspend the old ones that you left. Suspense API, you can now suspend 2D applications and VR experiences, launch another app, and resume your progress seamlessly afterwards. Again, multitasking, similar to what Android already incorporates in their mobile phones. You have a different task switcher. Basically, they're implementing that for 2D applications and VR experiences as well, so you don't have to close things out just to enter a different bar or menu or application. This feature would have to have developers opt in via Suspense API for their apps, but all the home windows and 2D apps are going to be supported right off the bat. There's also a Windows API that's going to be going into beta, which will allow developers to put an Oculus dashboard or home window into their VR applications, such as a browser page, for example. So anything that Oculus releases right off the bat for these Windows systems in the home environment, home menu. Again, developers will be able to just put them into their VR applications. Again, beta. But yeah, obviously with this huge update described, it'll be very much better for productivity and doing a lot more things in VR and AR. It's just, yeah, much better than what we have now, which is just open one program, close it, and that's pretty much it. Hope that the game saves or whatever you're into, even though this won't be a gaming-focused update. And having 2 times the RAM at a LPDDR5 configuration would be much more beneficial for a product like this. The Steam Deck also has LPDDR5 RAM, by the way. Just want to kind of note that. I have many videos talking about the Cambria likely specs other than what I described in this video, including pictures I've seen of the device and made renders to actually give you what it will look like. A lot of similar stuff that we've been leaked before, except we saw some great configuration examples of the camera. And I've even been given experiences from people who tried the device. Of course, at the same time, the software wasn't fleshed out for the device when they tried it, so it's hard to judge a hardware product until the software is finalized. One final note as a little bonus ending of this video, I did mention they're testing this XR2 revision with a 6GB LPDDR4X. I'm not sure if they plan to upgrade or update the Quest 2 with this better bin chip, but I did want to note that I received some very good information that the Quest 3, the actual Quest 3 consumer low-level device, has the entirety of its parts planned out already. These schematics are being sent to the supply chain because it's planned to be productized in 2023, probably on the later end around Oculus Connect 2023, so September next year. I don't have any info on the exact specs for the device yet, but you know me, I will always have my ears open and we'll find that out and report it when it comes available. That is it. I know that was a ridiculously long and crazy video, but yeah, it was a lot of information that I felt was very important to get out to people and reports. Thanks to everyone here for giving me $25 plus a month. You all make this possible and make me continue doing this and allow me to do things that I normally would not be able to do on this channel. BradSpells.com/Patreon. Anyway, I'm just going to put on this 3D printed Cambria headset and nope out of here. Bye.